Okay, the first thing that we're going to do once the lids are removed is to check if any abnormal odors are present. And basically we do that by just looking and smelling each of the compartments. And then on the maintenance sheet we would select yes or no. Here there is nothing abnormal, so we'll select no. Secondly, we're going to check to see if there are any insects present. Typically the insects will be in the first compartment. Sometimes in the scum layer you'll find larvae or sewage flies on the inside of the risers. And today we don't see any of those, so we'll select no on our maintenance report. Under general observations, what we're looking for now is evidence of high water. We check that by looking at the stickers on the partition walls. The silver stickers are graduated. At the 0 graduation mark is your normal water level. Right now we're looking at the sedimentation chamber, and the water level looks fine there. The second compartment here is our anaerobic chamber. Yeah, this is the second compartment. There's not a sticker on the partition wall here, but as long as this water level is normal. And now we're looking at the sticker on the partition wall of the aerobic chamber, or our third compartment. It's also graduated and the water level's at the 0 graduation, so we have a normal water level. Okay, what we're looking for now is we're looking for excess foam formation in the aerobic chamber. And as you can see, just normal bubbling's occurring. We have no foam formation here. Typically when there is foam formation, you'll see a white detergent type of foam that may form in this chamber. So no excess foam formation. And then next we're going to look for residue buildup on the piping, and we do have a bit of that evidenced by the gray material that's deposited on the black material deposited on the gray piping, as well as on that partition wall. Okay, now we're still in the aerobic chamber, and what we're looking for is even and vigorous bubbling across the aerobic chamber. So we have bubbles dispersed evenly across that entire chamber. So on our maintenance checklist, we're going to check yes to even and vigorous bubbling. For our required water quality analyses, we have several pieces of equipment we use. The first is a ladle, a 250 milliliter ladle, which we use for sampling our clean water storage chamber. The second item that we use are pH test strips for testing the pH of our effluent water. Third, we have our nitrate and nitrite test strips. We'll be interested in the nitrite primarily for this test. And then our fourth piece of equipment is a transparency tube, which is just a clear plastic tube with a Secchi disc in the bottom, and it's graduated in centimeters on the side. So now at this point in our maintenance and inspection, we're going to be taking a water sample from our clean water storage chamber and performing our required water quality analyses. Now we're performing the pH test. Just dip the strip in our water sample and allow it to react. And then we'll compare the color of the test strip to the color on the container. So that's it for our pH test. Now we're going to perform our nitrite test. We're going to take our test strip, dip it in the water sample, and we're going to allow it to react for 30 seconds, and then we're going to read our nitrite concentration. Okay, and we're going to be looking at the bottom scale. And so we're right around 3 parts per million nitrite. So now we're performing our transparency test, and what we're doing is we're draining the water out of the transparency tube until the Secchi disc in the bottom first becomes visible. And at that point we stop draining the tube and we read our centimeters of transparency on the side of our transparency tube. You always want to make sure that you dump your water samples back into the treatment system. So now we're going to sample our sludge depth in our clean water storage chamber, which this baffle right here gives you access to the bottom of that chamber. So we drop our sludge judge in until it stops and then slowly pull it back up until the valve seats, and we should have our sludge sample. Okay, so our second place to test our sludge depth is our anaerobic chamber, and we test it through the baffle here on the outlet end of that chamber, which gives us access to the very bottom of the tank. The third place that we're going to test our sludge depth is in the first compartment, or the sedimentation chamber, and we sample it through one of the two baffles here on the outlet end of this chamber. At this point in our maintenance procedure, we're going to use the valving in the aeration chamber to clean the aeration chamber. So the first step that we're going to take is we're going to completely shut off the recirculation line, so no flow is occurring through the recirculation line. And then we're going to air flush our media using the blue valve. We rotate the handle to one side, and all of the airflow comes up through the media on the side that the handle's pointed to. We'll allow it to run that way for a few seconds, and then we'll alternate it to the other side of the aeration chamber. So now we're going to send all of the airflow to the other side of the aeration chamber, allowing it to slough heavy solids off of the media. Once that's completed, split the airflow evenly across the aeration chamber. We'll reset the recirculation rate to its original position. So now we've air flushed our recirculation side of the system, and we need to switch to the manual backwash mode by pressing the pink button on the blower so that we can clean the media on the backwash side of the system. Okay, now we're in the manual backwash cycle. So you see recirculation through the sludge return line. We're gonna air flush the media. So the first step we take is we completely shut off the sludge return. Then we rotate the red valve from side to side, starting with the A side. So now all of our airflow is directed to one half of the aeration chamber, and we're just using the air to slough any heavy solids off of the media that may have accumulated. We allow it to run this way for a few seconds. And we rotate the valve to the other side, sending all of the airflow to the opposite side of the chamber. Allow it to run that way for a few seconds, and once we're satisfied, we rotate this valve back to 50% so that airflow is even across the chamber, and then we reset our sludge return valve to its original setting. Okay, we've completed our backwash, so we're going to use the pink manual backwash button and switch our airflow back to normal aeration mode. So now, as one of our final steps in our maintenance procedure is to reset our recirculation and backwash rates. We're setting our recirculation rate right now, and so we're going to time how long it takes in seconds to fill a 1 liter container. Okay, and our recirculation rate is too slow. So now we're going to speed it up. If we want to increase or decrease our recirculation flow rates, so our flow through this gray piping, we simply rotate this valve clockwise or to a higher percentage to increase it, or counterclockwise to a lower percentage to decrease it or slow the flow rate down. Okay, we've increased our recirculation rate by increasing the percentage on our recirculation valve in the aeration chamber. So now we're going to refill our 1 liter container and time how long it takes in seconds to fill it. And as long as we're within the appropriate range. Okay, so that was within the appropriate range, so we have our recirculation rate set. To measure the flow rate on the sludge return line or on the backwash cycle by filling our 1 liter container and timing how long in seconds it takes to fill it. Okay. A little bit slow, so we'll have to increase it by opening or increasing the percent setting on the gray backwash valve. If we want to increase our flow rate in our sludge return line, we can do so by rotating the valve counterclockwise to a higher percentage setting. If we want to slow the flow rate, we can do so by rotating the valve clockwise to a lower percentage setting. measure it again. Okay, it's perfect. And then once you're finished with your backwash settings, you want to make sure that you manually switch back into recirculation and normal aeration mode by pressing the manual backwash button on the blower. The blower has a 24-hour clock, and the numbers that you see when you first open the keypad are the hours. So right now we're set to 22 hours. If we want to check or change settings, we press the mode button, and you'll see an arrow that begins flashing next to hours on the clock side of the menu screen. If you want to change the hours, you can press the set button and scroll through the hours. So let's set the blower to 11 a.m. If we press the mode button again, or the white button, you'll see seconds or minutes start flashing, the arrow next to minutes. So we're set to 43 minutes. If we're satisfied with that, we press the mode button again, and you'll see the arrow flash on the backwash side of the menu screen. We're at hours, so at 5 a.m. the blower will automatically go into backwash mode. We're okay with that. We press the mode button again, and you'll see the arrow flash against frequency or number of times per day that it will switch into backwash mode. And it's 2 times per day. If we're okay with that, we press the mode button again, and you'll see duration in minutes. So this is how long the blower will run in backwash mode. Right now we're set to 5 minutes. If we're satisfied with that, we press the mode button again, and you're back to the normal menu screen. So you see the 11 hours or 11 a.m. that we set the clock to, and that completes the blower settings. And the last maintenance item on the blower is cleaning the filter. The air filter is just beneath the cap here, so you pop the cap off, and the filter is just a foam pad, and you simply tap it between your 2 hands to get any dust or dirt off of it. Just blow any dust away from the blower. Reinstall the air filter. Place the cap back in place and click it shut. Okay, and then we're going to reinstall the lid. The final inspection that we would do during our normal maintenance is to inspect the control panel to make sure that all of our piping connections are secure, to make sure that the panel itself is secure, that there are no leaks around the door. And then we can also test the alarm with the toggle switch on the side, which serves as a test switch. And once we're satisfied that everything's working with the control panel, that completes our maintenance inspection.